T-Track is an absolute waste of money. Do not spend a dime on this stuff. The only place for this in my shop is the garbage can. In the Smart Wood Shop, almost all of the Smart tools use some form of T-Track. The miter station uses T-Track for the stops. The router table uses T-Track for mounting in-feed and other tools that you need when routing. The in-feed on my table saw uses T-Track. The panel rigs use T-Track. Again, this is the router fence, T-Track. The crosscut jig, T-Track. The long extensions that look just like these for the miter stand, T-Track. So I am highly dependent on T-Track, but not this stuff, not the aluminum stuff you can buy. I make it myself, and what I make is far superior and costs nothing, literally, after I purchase one tool. This Whiteside T-Track bit and a standard 1/4 inch upcut spiral bit was the first set that I got away from using the aluminum T-Track, and I've been very happy with the results. In fact, most of the tools that I'm still using were made with these two bits. These two, and not another set, and these haven't been sharpened, have made all of this stuff and a lot more. A year, maybe 2 years ago, I discovered another bit, or it was released, one of the two, because I didn't know about it, also by Whiteside, and it's this one. And it makes a larger T-Track and an angled cut in the shaft. Now I'm changing everything over to this. As I have time, I'm actually taking my older tools and running it through that old cut, just running it through this, and it's working fine. I've already ran this right side through to test it out, and now I need to run the left side through, as well as the long extensions and all of my other accessories. So it's nice that I'm not going to have to remake these because it's larger. It's actually just cutting right through the old smaller T-Track. We'll go over to the router table now, and I will set up and make the dado cut for this aluminum track so we can see what that entails. And then I'll follow up with making the shop-made T-Track with this, and you'll get an understanding of why the only place for this in my shop is the garbage can. To use T-Track with tools and fixtures, I need to first cut a dado to drop the T-Track into so that it's flush with the work surface. To do that, I'll use a standard 3/4 inch router bit, a bit that will match up with the width of the T-Track that I have. I'll use the T-Track itself to set the depth of the cut. So that's quick and easy, pretty painless. One cut, it drops in flush, it's beautiful. Now all I need to do is mount it, and that's the first dilemma. I don't want any backer, I'm using 18mm plywood. Every single tool that I have is made with 18mm plywood, and the T-Track needs to be mounted in that without thickening it for any reason. Typically when you buy T-Track, they'll offer screws for it, or they'll even include them sometimes, depending on the brand that you purchase. That was my first dilemma. The screws, even though they were really short, would oftentimes stick through just a little bit. So I shopped around and got even a shorter screw and found that it worked okay, but just didn't give me the confidence and hold that I wanted. So I added the Fast Cap double stick tape, and I would first stick it on and then put those screws in. So I would have more time in mounting it than actually making the cut. The other dilemma with T-Track is getting it longer than about 4 feet. I was able to find it, but I had to source, and it was this material here, and it was only one source that I could find that had this. Any of the other brands, the Craig or Inc or any of those, I was just limited to 4 feet. So almost every one of my tools is longer than that. Not all of them, but more than half of them. And so I would have to stack them end to end, which then means that they're butting up to each other. And when you're passing your stop or clamp or whatever you're using it for through there, there was a tendency that it was a little edge there to catch on. It was tight and they're pretty well machined, so it wasn't a big issue, but I did find that I would want to take a small file and sort of angle the edges from the two that are going to butt together, just so that, you know, they sort of feathered together a little bit better. Now I'll show you my current method of doing this, and I think you're going to understand why I much prefer this. Setting up the dado cut was pretty simple. It was a matter of just setting up the overall height of the bit coming out of the router table. It's a little different with the T-Track bit. I want to set the bottom edge of the cutter from the surface of the router table, and I want that to be 6 millimeters. I have played around with different amounts, 3 millimeters, 4 millimeters, 5 millimeters, and I've determined that 6 is my favorite. It gives me a nice, healthy, thick edge to clamp to, and it still leaves me plenty of 18 mil ply. Here's the difference. I'm all done. I don't have to mount the T-Track. I don't have to use double stick tape. I don't have to glue it. I don't have to put in screws. I don't have to buy it. The cost of this material is the same whether I use the aluminum T-Track or shop-made T-Track. The cost of the bit is a bit more. I can get a quality carbide 3/4 bit for probably $20, $30, $35. This Whiteside T-slot cutter is $74. So let's say that it's 3 times more than this cutter. But also this cutter, I'm gonna have lots of these anyway. I'm not buying this special for the dado. I use this a lot. So I'm gonna say that I have to spend $74 on a cutter, but I don't have to buy any T-Track. Shop-made T-Track not only saves me a lot of money and time, I think it performs better as well. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Wait, before I do that, I want to recut this one anyway, just to show you, so you can see this is the T-Track I've been using for years, the shop-made with the smaller Whiteside. And this actually matches the aluminum T-Track for its profile, whereas the other one's a little different, which again, I'll show you in just a minute. This exercise is actually for those that already have all of the smart tools and you've already cut it with the smaller one. You may want to think about doing this because there are some advantages. Quick and easy, and now my auxiliary table saw fence is updated. This video about the shop-made T-Track is really inspired by a project that I've been working on in the shop here for 3 weeks now. This is the final version. Actually, it's a mini version of the final version. This is version 6, and I've got all the bugs worked out. With this, I'm going to finalize the plans, and then I'm going to come out here do a video of building the full-size final version to go as a companion video for the plans that I'll be releasing. So I think you're going to be excited about this. I know that I've really been thinking about this for a few years, and I'm excited with how it turned out. Radically different than how I started. And in that video, I'll show you version 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so you'll see the progression. At the beginning of this video, I said that T-Track was a total waste of money. And I think I sort of demonstrated that with this example. But not only is it more expensive to go the aluminum route, but it doesn't function as well. The Shopmade T-Track offers more with that new cutter. These clamps, whether they're Festool or what other brands, they have this sort of dovetail shape to them. And this T-Track that I use will not accept that. You can't put these clamps in. There's no angle for that. There are some T-Tracks that are similar to this, that will work with this type of clamp, but I have not been able to find them in anything longer than 4 feet. And for me, I just did not want to stack T-Track end to end. It just, you know, the work that I had to do to it, and I just didn't like it, and they still bump sometimes. So this was the only brand that I found that I could get 8-foot lengths. With the original T-slot cutter that I've recommended and used for all the other tools, it also will not accept these clamps, because again, it's designed to make a T-Track that looks just like this. But with this new cutter, it makes a much larger T-slot and puts these angles on it, and also makes the groove a bit wider. So you can take any of these clamps, drop them in, slide it up and down. So that can be along, if I want to clamp a board on one of these, if I want to clamp in my auxiliary fence, and you can just go on and on. And all of the tools, adding that ability to clamp wherever is a pretty nice asset. But for me, far more important are my stops. I have a lot of different stops for my different tools. These are the ones that these flip stops that I make. They're part of the SmartStation, and I have 2 rights and 2 lefts, and they slide up and down inside of the T-slots on these and lock down. In my original design, I had a knob that I turned, and then one of these typical T-slot bolts that's flat on the sides, and then that will get trapped. So when you're turning the knob, it gets trapped so that it can't spin, and you can tighten it down. One of the SmartFan dropped these cam clamp ideas on me, and I get these, I think they're PowerTech, and I get them, they're in my store. I get them from Amazon. I get them for a pair for about $14, delivered to my door, no shipping. And they come with that T-Track bolt, the flat bolt. But with this wider T-Track, the bolt will spin, which didn't bother me at all, because I have found, since I've gone to these cam clamps, even using the standard tracks, that it's much faster and I get a better bite. It's just, that's what Chris Criswell told me, one of the SmartFan, when he introduced these to me. But since the T-Track is much wider, I get to add a 1-inch or 25 millimeter washer. So this head that the bolt has, it's just insignificant. I have this washer, and that gives me a lot more clamping power and spread. So it's just really, feels really solid. So all I have to do is flip the clamp loose, slide it to where I want it, and clamp it down, and it pulls up on that 1-inch washer. And by going with 6 millimeter for the thickness, this thing is really durable and holds up. And I know that it's going to hold up because I did these a lot thinner. I did these at 4 millimeters, and This set here is 5-6 years old and still going strong. You can go online on Amazon and look up T-slot cutters, and you're going to find a lot of them, a lot of really inexpensive ones. And I got a few of those to test them out, and they're inexpensive for a reason. I went with the Whiteside, which was a bit more money, but I've made all of this T-track for the last 5 years with those cutters, that T-slot cutter and then the mating cutter, and it's as sharp as the day I got it. So that's where the value is. But also, this being a Whiteside as well, is the only one with this profile that I've been able to find. And I would definitely go this route, even though it's a bit more money than the smaller one. Number one, you don't need 2 bits. You do it all with 1 pass, so it saves you time. I'll put this T-slot cutter in my store. I want to emphasize that Whiteside makes another cutter that's this size without the angles, and it's about $6 or $7 less money. So it's not a big money difference, but it's not going to give you the angles for the clamps, and those angles don't take anything away. They don't hurt you. So I would highly recommend going with that bit. So I will put that one in my store. In fact, it's already there. I'll put a link in this video. If you use that link, Amazon will give us a commission, not Whiteside. I have no affiliation with Whiteside. I just really love what they've done with this bit, and I highly recommend it. If you'd like to purchase a detailed set of plans for the Smart Station, the Smart Workbench, the Smart Woodshop, any of the accessories that work with the system, I'll put a link in the description of the video down below. If you enjoyed this video and you want to encourage me to keep making them, then one thing you can do that costs you nothing is that right there, that thumbs up, click on that, feeds the algorithm, really helps the channel. Doesn't hurt you a bit, I promise it doesn't hurt. Right now, go ahead and just click that. Also drop me a comment if you see something I'm doing in the shop, you want to know more about it, if a method or a tool that I'm using you want to find out more about, hey, drop in the comments and I'll see about making a video for that for the Smart Woodshop fam. Keep your eyes open for the video about this new smart tool that's coming very soon. Mahalo.